Well, hello there. You got a red discus and a red knobbed starfish. Hmm. On a red sort of theme. How interesting. How interesting. I don't think it's hot enough. I don't think it's scorching anymore. But that's okay. That means it's perfect. That means it's perfect to drink. It's perfect. Perfect to drink. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's Sunday. It's Sunday. It's story time. Research, research, research note reviews. I wonder what files we'll be reading over today. I don't know. I wonder. I wonder. I wonder. Bum, bum, bum. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. Okay. Oh, wait. Wait. Oh. I didn't realize that the gain was lowered. It was like way lowered. Fast, quick stalling. How's your day been? Let's see. I've actually been waking up on time and then just like listening to stuff. So that's been nice. And then I did my normal routine and eventually got up to go get some cereal because um, I got so hungry that it was like the nauseating hurting. So it's like, okay, I have to go get cereal. So I got cereal and that was good. I forgot to eat the banana. I'll eat the banana later. I was gonna eat a banana before stream, but whatever. Whatever. And then I took on Sundays, typically I do like the deep clean shower. Now I feel super clean. My hair feels all nice. I cut my nails. So now they're back to their short length, which makes me happy. I don't like when my nails are long. So far, my day's been good. I also favorited some more emotes as to use for reference in creating our emotes. So I'm excited to make that. I'm also excited to chop up audios from previous reading days, and get those ready to publish and post on YouTube. But enough about my day. How's your day been? How was your Sunday? How has it been? Actually, boom, actually, boom. Emotes, emotes. Where's the? How many slots? Ooh, what's Lucky gonna get? A red eye. Hey, this is weird. That's 3 sea creatures in a row with red at the start of their name. Like, not only in the name, but at the start of their names. Red discus, red knob starfish, red eye fish. What's going on? Your day was good. You woke up early and played on the Switch? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I like waking up early and cleaning. It feels really nice. What'd you play on the Switch? What?
What games you got on your phone? What games you got?
This foreshadowing for the stories we shall be reading. Leaning towards no. You should ask if Moobot's lying. But also, Lucky, how's your day been? How's your day been? Your rewards, emotes. Okay, so there's 5 standard emotes. There's 6 standard tier 1. And 6 animated. There's 1 standard tier 2, and there's 1 standard tier 3. Then there's also bits. Oh man, so I can have 3, 4, 5, 7, 7, 13, 19, 24 emotes. Oh my goodness, I can make 24 emotes. I have 24 emote slots. I just came back from first day of ice fishing. Ooh, nice, nice. Did you catch anything? Wow. Moobot's off to a good start. Moobot's off to a great start. Ah, ice fishing. That's different. That's neat. I didn't mean that in like genuinely that's neat. I don't mean that in any negative way or even like sarcastic. Certain words just like seem to be intrinsically sarcastic or like a backhanded sort of way. Oh, looks like Anna broke the stalemate we were in. Frontosa chichled. Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Very nice. It's not a bad fish to grab. Fish or sea life. Saw a bunch of fish. First day of ice fishing, always the setup day. Oh, so I didn't have any bait. Ah, I see, I see. Setup day. Setup day. Okay, that's what I thought. That's what I was thinking you meant. But assumptions are assumptions. Just to get into the groove of things. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I see. Okay. Very nice. I completely lost my train of thought. I was gonna go on about something, but I don't remember now. I don't remember. I don't remember. Let's see. 20 20 files. So that's 20 videos. The memetics kicked in. Oh man, I forgot to take my meds. Forgot to take my memetic meds. This ain't good. Not looking good for us today. Nope, not clear. Gotta stop clearing my throat. Bad. 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 Gamba, gamba, gamba. Oh my goodness. Gamba, gamba. Gamba, gamba, gamba. Gamba, 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 gamba. Let's see. Hmm. Let's see. So, how many days are left? It's the 22nd. So that means there's 9 days left in this year. Okay. Okay. So I was thinking about things and stuff. Stuff and things and things and things and stuff. Stuff and things, you know. Stuff and things, not stuff and things. You feel? Ooh, you survived this time, Anna. Well, there you go. That's good. That's good. Very good. Okay. Very good. Very good. Uh, there's 20. Should I just do like a mass upload of the stories? Like I can just like do. I can after stream today cut up 002 and 003, upload those both tomorrow, and kick off upload week. I'll get like 2 stories uploaded on YouTube each day for the rest of the year. We should get closer to having a lot more on there. And that way it'll also be a little bit of a catalog. But do you lie to any questions asked of you? The answer to that isn't pretty. Oh, sounds like a fun idea. Okay. Especially since I I might be streaming Thursday. I might. I'll have to. I know Wednesday maybe? Maybe. Probably not. Maybe I'll probably know more tomorrow what my schedule for the week will look like. But yeah, I think. Hello. Hello, Anna. Hello. Yeah. Okay, that's going to be the plan. 2 stories per day starting tomorrow for the rest of the year. Yeah, because there's 20 stories, so that's 10 days. Okay, perfect. Perfect. Instead of thinking Thursday, my brain went to Tuesday. Yeah, we're going Tuesday, ain't it? Okay. Okay, that's good. And I'll be getting at least the follower emotes done this week. Now that I have some solid ideas for what to do. So we'll have some emotes ready. Part of me wishes I had an editor. Like I had someone to hire as an editor. Just so I could just do like art stuff. I also enjoy editing. Editing's kind of fun. It's also time consuming, just like art is. Maybe when I'm bigger, when I'm bigger, I'll have an editor. Because I'm also like, I'm a newbie to editing for the most part. I've done some stuff, but not a lot. I don't know all the little tricks and stuff, little fancy gizmos. I do what I can. I learn when I can, what I can. But it's not my forte. Anyways, that's not something I've got to worry about now. That's that's for the future. That's for the future. Fishy, fishy. For now, I think it's time to jump into the stories. Hmm. We keep. Oh, wait, wait, wait. Silent. Wait. Akira Yamaoka. Okay, let's see. Did he slit her head? Silent Hill 2. Oh, yay. Ooh. Oh, wow. Whoa, there's a lot of songs. Okay. There's 3 discs? Holy moly. An uncommon oyster. Whoa, I don't like oysters. But whoa. Ooh, okay, this is interesting. Let's switch over to reading time. Switch over to reading time. Do we not got? Is that not going? Uh, hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Hold on. Okay. That's a little odd, but no, we'll take it. We'll take it. Okay. So, oops. I didn't mean to. I meant to start this. The Silent Hill 2 remake soundtrack got released. So now we can have that background. I'll turn it down. 7.2. How does the fireplace and then also the music sound to you guys? Let me know how it is, like balance wise. Oh, well, now the music's going in a quiet place right now. Oh, here we go. Listening. 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 I think it might be at a just right balance right now. It may be just right. They are pretty low. Oh no, how are the sound? How is the fireplace and music for you? A butterfly fish? A bit low. Okay. It's always a little hard to judge. Yeah, we'll do. Yeah. Okay. I think this might be better. Perhaps this is a better balance. I almost wanted to just fill the silence and be there in the background, but never clashing or being any overpowering. So maybe this balance is a little better. I turn them up a bit. So perhaps this is better. So how is it now? You could almost say the silence of Silent Hill? Yeah. 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 Yes, yes. Yes. Turn it up by one. I think this may be good. You can hear the actual sound of the flames a little more from the fireplace. Okay. Okay. So, as for stories, what caught my eyes, at least last time when we were looking for a bit, we have Dark Stuff for Sleepless Nights, which is like creepypastas. We also have the ABCs of Death, which we got a whole slew to read. And there's also this funny one, Joey F. Nuts, which I feel like we could wrap up with. I think this would probably be a good one to wrap up with. And I eventually will read all of these. I just don't know which should we do. I think we could probably get through all of the dark stuff stories. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 of them. Hold on a sec. 9 days left in the year. 9 stories. I think we gotta go. We gotta start with this. We have to start with these. In reverse chronological order. Reverse. Wait. Is the bottom one the first one then? Or is the top one? Is this the newest one? Or is this the oldest one? And we'll click on it and see. And I see the bottom when it was June 2020. So 909 days ago. So cellulose. 887 days ago. Okay. So this one's the newest one? What about... when was this one last edited? 909. Just look at these real quick. 973. Wait. Okay, no, the editing doesn't make... Ah! Ah, it's bright. Options. I... Do any of you know which ones I should start with? I'm genuinely confused. I think I'm confusing myself. I think I'm confusing myself. Ah. Patience. Oh wait, we can probably just look at here. Dark stuff. So we need to go back a bit. Dang, they write a lot. They write a lot. Sandbox here. Dark stuff has a sandbox here. Does it need to be in order? I don't know. Because it says chronological order, so I'm assuming that they might all be related. So this was... I don't know. We'll just look. We'll either look for making weight or a smell of cellulose. I kind of wish there was a dark mode. I don't like white backgrounds most of the time. Holy moly. Jeez Louise. Jeez Louise, the world is quiet here. No, no, making weight smell. Making weight and smell. Making weight. Okay, so making weight seems like it might be the newest one. Okay, yeah. Yeah. making weight. Seems to be the newest one. Yeah, okay. Say cheese. Yeah, okay. Okay, so the smell is the first one. Smells the first one. Okay. I'm glad I looked at their profile. Because now we know. We know which one to start with. Let's dive into it. I think I'll stay on the just chatting category. Yeah, I'll just stay there. All right. Wait, the screen is a little cut off. Transform. Edit. So do 75. Okay, that's good. Done. Done, done, done. Perfect, perfect. Story is the smell of cellulose. When his car pulled up, I was practically vibrating. All the little metal bits of equipment on my backpack were clinking and jingling. Carabiner. 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 I want to know how to. Carabiner. 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 Carabiner? What? That doesn't help. There we go. I don't. These don't help.
Carabiner.
Carabiner. Okay. I'm just going to restart real quick. When his car pulled up, I was practically vibrating. All the little metal bits of equipment on my backpack were clinking and jingling. The carabiner tinking against my water bottle, and the flashlight patting against polyester. In an attempt to look a little cooler than I was, I took a couple deep breaths to curb the jitters. Thankfully, it was dark out, and he probably hadn't seen anything. As soon as he'd come to a full stop, I braved stepping out into the headlights, barely able to make my way down the path from the porch to the driveway, shielding my eyes with my arm, and giving a weak wave to someone I couldn't yet see. When I reached the passenger side, the door opened in front of me, and I saw him sitting in the driver's seat, leaning over the console to let me in. "Welcome aboard," he said, a polite smile spreading across his sharp, pointed face. "Hey, glad to meet you." I extended my hand. Prima." He extended his, and we shook. "Richter," he corrected me. "Richter," I repeated back. We'd met on the forums, Parawatch forums, to be specific. He'd started a thread offering up his hometown to see if there was anybody nearby. "Welcome aboard the Polar Express." Oh man, can't wait to see that air. Can't wait to see that on every channel. Every channel. No, we don't have cable anymore. There's no channels. Anyways, he'd started a thread offering up his hometown to see if there was anyone nearby. I know you're not supposed to give out that information to strangers, but the opportunity was simply too good to pass up. "My name's Harold. Get it? Howled? Harold? Ha! Came up with that when I was 12. He chuckled, but I think it was more sympathy than genuine amusement. "All right, go sling the backpack in the truck bed and we'll be off." followed his instructions and practically had to climb into his big rusty truck. What could go wrong? Yeah. As soon as I was situated, we took off without another word. The truck smelled like dirt and old newspaper, reeking of being inherited instead of bought. Still, anything was better than nothing, and I had nothing, which was why he was driving. After some awkward minutes of silence, he spoke. I should have told you, he warned, but that backpack's probably not going to fit where we're going. You're going to have to choose what to take and leave behind. What? I gave him a look, but it was lost in the darkness. Well, dang. The EMF reader can fit in my pocket. Flashlight is a must. Walkie-talkies are portable, and we can keep the channel open without saying anything to catch it speaking. It doesn't communicate that way, he interrupted me. Huh? For a moment, the only sound was the truck's tires on asphalt crackling over the unkept road. Plus, we're not going to be splitting up, he continued. Don't need the radio. Well, all right then. I guess we can take some of the bars and put them in our pockets, but the fruit will stay behind. The notebook is a bit bulky. It'll be fine. I rolled my eyes. Hey, I thought you were supposed to be the expert here. I did my homework, and you should appreciate that. Yeah, well, I do. Thanks. But I am the expert. I've done this before, and I can tell you, none of that stuff does anything. So go get your flashlight and some power bars, and we'll go in. We're here. Ooh. I wonder where they've arrived. Richter parked in a small turnout. The pitch-black night was crowded with trees that blotted out the stars, the only possible source of illumination. We were essentially in the middle of nowhere. A slight breeze pushed leaves and pine needles up against one another, and I thought I might have heard the sounds of some critters scurrying away when we first parked, but it was otherwise still. I hopped out of the car as Richter did the same, begrudgingly snagging only the bare necessities from my carefully assembled pack and leaving the rest in the truck bed. So, where is it? Down here. Richter waved me over. I followed him down the hill, over dead leaves and underbrush, waving a flashlight around to find my way. This is more secluded than I expected, I observed. If ghosts were okay with publicity, they'd come out in the day, too. I can't argue with that, I mumbled. Look there. He pointed his flashlight to a concrete pipe jutting out of the steep incline. It was nested in a small dip, and there were brown discoloration at its rim and along its bottom. Richter gracefully skid down the hill and landed on his feet just in front of it. The storm drain you were talking about, I proposed. Yes, he confirmed. It's haunted. Wow. Sorry. The wow caught me really off guard. The wow caught me. I just imagine Owen Wilson. Wow. Wow. Yes, he confirmed. It's haunted. Wow. He flashed me a quick smile. You want to lead the way? You seem excited. Nervous, more like. That stillness returned again. I found myself standing at the top of the incline, not yet brave enough to join him in the mini canyon that preceded the pipe. Just looking down at him, he and the dead leaves, the fallen pine needles, the dust and dirt, and that cramped opening, the storm drain that dug itself into the earth.
Hello. Hello, Gespent. Hello.
How are you doing? Turn the crackles down a bit. Turn the crackles. You're doing good. I'm glad to hear that. Crackles down again. A lot of heat. What's with the heat? Why is there heat? What have you done? What kind of mischief you got into? Why are you in such heat? Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. Ask about global warming, yeah. Global warming, why'd you do this? Why you make the heat heat? A rare clownfish. Ooh. Okay, okay. Guess that means I'll take the lead. Come down here. It's a storm drain, so there's only one way to go. If something scary happens, you just turn the other way and run. I wasn't quick to comply, but I did. I steadily lowered myself down the way and ended up standing right next to him. The entrance was even more foreboding from this angle. Claustrophobic maw. I had a pit form in my stomach and a knot form in my chest. I had to remind myself that ghosts were scary but non-lethal. Not usually, anyways. Richter wasted no time. He crouched down and stepped into the tunnel with confidence and just kept going. I made sure to follow a couple steps behind. The sound of wind quickly became non-existent. I shivered as the temperature dropped some degrees, and I found my single jacket uncomfortable. Run, you say? I muttered. Looks more like crawl real fast. Sure, but that doesn't inspire confidence. It really doesn't. There was a pause as I tried to discover the most comfortable way to crawl through the tunnel. So, will talking keep it from appearing? Not in my experience. For a moment, the only sound was the friction our shoes made with the damp concrete. Have you seen it? He stopped walking for just a second. He turned back to look at me. Yes. Then he turned around and kept moving. Wow. How often? I hear it more than I see it. Well, how often do you hear it? Every time. I stopped moving. It was getting really cold. He only stopped when he noticed I wasn't following. Getting cold feet? Sorry, I thought ghosts were hard to find. That's why, we're all trying to prove their existence or something. Not if you know where to look. He let me have my moment for a second, but waved me forward, and I slowly but steadily got back up to pace, crouching low to keep my back from scraping the rough ceiling. How often do you come down here? Once a week. To do what? Just to make sure it's still here. And you've never gotten a picture? Well, that's why you're here, right? I was about to respond, but look. Richter moved his flashlight to show an opening in the concrete wall. It looked like something had burst through the pipe, and there was a tiny earthen cubby, just big enough that when Richter waved me in, we could both sit down as long as we kept our heads low. I paused for him to explain himself, but there was only silence instead. So I asked him, "What do we do now?" Wait. Wait for what? For what else? The ghost. I hadn't realized just how still the tunnel was, but as soon as we had sat down, all sound had ceased. Without our footsteps to echo, the loudest sound was the ringing in my heart and the blood pumping through my body. I desperately wanted to fill the silence. What do we do when it gets here? He didn't respond. How would you find it? Richter sighed. I've always sort of known it was here. A friend and I were playing when we were really little. We were playing pretend, and we were pretending that one of us was this monster, right? We called it the tunnel monster. Well, the tunnel monster would hang out in these tunnels. He mentioned to the storm. No, he motioned to the storm drain. One of us would try to escape, and the other would try to drag us in. I nearly jumped out of my skin. That sound. There was a sound coming from the storm drain. Something pained and loud. A wailing. Is that it? Richter held a finger up to his lips to shush me, and then powered on with his story as that faraway wailing continued to echo through the pipe. One might even say, the ghost of Christmas past. Perhaps. Probably not, but can't say no for certain. We had gotten into kind of an argument, though, about who won the game. It was so stupid, because there wasn't ever supposed to be a winner. It was just supposed to go on forever, except that kids' games. No, except that kids' games can't go on forever. The wailing grew louder. It was torturous, overwhelming. I'd never heard anything like it in my life. And that's when we found it. Here? Well, not here. Not exactly. The specter shrieked. What do we do? What do we do when it gets close? We're stuck in a hole. Should we run? Should we? Shh. He held his fingers to his lips again, then looked to his right, as if listening only for the proximity of the thing, and then looked to his right, as if listening only for the proximity of the thing. It doesn't usually get this close. I spoke at a lower volume. If you've already seen it, and you've known it was here, then why am I here? Can't I just want to show someone? I didn't lower the intensity of my gaze, as another screech came from the tunnel. He relented. It doesn't like me. Doesn't like you? He shook his head. It won't get close to me anymore. Anymore? What's a ghost? What? What's a ghost to you? I was struggling to think straight. The only thing keeping me in place were how difficult it was to move and the thought that I might actually prove the existence of the supernatural, but my resolve was waning fast. It's someone who has died. It's their spirit. Close. Not quite. It's the spirit of someone who doesn't exist anymore. What's the difference? Well, are you in the same Herald from 4 years ago? Oh, wait. Well, are you the same Herald from 4 years ago? Haven't a lot of things happened between now and then? So, if you're a different Herald, then where'd the last one go? What remains of it? I could hear footsteps. I could hear the heavy, wet footsteps of something coming down the tunnel. Something coming towards he and I. Something lumbering and screaming and awful. This spirit, it's my ghost. And we're here to exorcise it. You want to run, right? I barely even processed the intensity of his last statement, instead frantically nodding my head. Okay, good. He forcefully grabbed me by the shoulders and wrestled me, kicking and yelling. No, he forcefully grabbed me by the shoulders and wrestled me, kicking and yelling, out into the tunnel. Then he gave me one command. Run. I moved my flashlight to the right and... and then I was scrambling down the tunnel in the other direction, out the way I came, going as fast as I could on my hands and feet, the adrenaline sometimes interfering with coordination, hitting my head into the ceiling, scraping my arms along the concrete, doing everything I possibly could to put as much distance between me and the thing that was screaming, wailing, closing the distance faster than anything of its size should be able to in a tunnel this cramped. A stench of mold and wet paper was slowly suffocating me as it got closer, so strong as to make me cough and gag, but I couldn't look back. I couldn't do anything that wasn't scampering towards the exit, one step at a time, one foot in front of the other, sweat barreling down my forehead, my breath quick and shallow and loud. And I screamed as I felt it. It grabbed my calf and dragged me backwards, my knees scraping on the pipe floor. I tried to kick it to get it off, but it redoubled its grip, grabbing my left leg with its other hand. And it wailed and yelled, and I wailed and yelled with it. As it pulled me closer to it, its head making it up to my stomach, I began to bash it with my flashlight. It didn't resist. In fact, its head nearly came apart. Mold and soiled paper crumpled out of one corner of its cardboard box head, spilling foul-smelling water onto the ground. But that didn't stop it. It kept pulling and groping and yelling until it was completely on top of me, my light sometimes illuminating the vague impression of a face drawn in Sharpie that had been warped by time, water, mold, and rot. It screamed. I screamed. And then it got pulled off of me. I skittered backwards, my flashlight catching as Richter plunged the box cutter into the thing's chest over and over and over again. Flailing limbs, sprays of water from the soaked cardboard, and there I was, frozen in place, watching as Richter exorcised the ghost. I nearly regained my senses and went to his aid when it thrust a hand through his chest. I screamed again, and halfway through that scream, the reason changed. At first, I was merely watching someone die, but then I noticed the texture of it. Richter's chest separated into sheafs, blood-soaked stacks of paper, of newspaper. His chest cavity opened, and out spilled print instead of organs. I twisted my body around and retreated. I had no cohesive thoughts. I just knew I needed to escape. The tunnel, the ghost, the Richter, all of it. I had to leave. I had to get out of here. I had to go. I made it to the exit of the tunnel, launched myself from the storm drain, and rolled into dead leaves and pine needles. I shot to a standing position and froze while my horrified psyche tried to remember how to get back to the car through the layers of stress and fear. And in that moment of stillness, the blood rushing in my ears somehow didn't block me from noticing that it was silent. Other than the wind and the leaves, there was nothing. No wailing, no yelling, no screaming. Nothing. Just me, the wind, my heartbeat, and my heavy breathing. I moved my flashlight to the tunnel. It didn't extend far, and it revealed nothing. I thought for a moment whether I should get a closer look. I took one cautious step towards the storm drain, then another, and then, no. I climbed up the hill. No, I didn't care. There was nothing that could make me go back. No. I made it up into the turnout on the road and saw the truck. I grabbed my backpack and started down the road. My adrenaline would keep me awake for the hours it took to walk back. That week, I didn't sleep. I barely ate. I almost went back to the forums. Almost. A couple times, but I didn't. What happened that night? Was that really a ghost? What was it, if not? Was Richter human? Was Richter a ghost? What was he, if not? What was the thing about to do to me? What was Richter about to do to it? I don't know. The hell? Huh. Hold on. What the hell? Okay. That's not what I wanted to do. Whoopsie daisy. Whoopsie daisy. Okay. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay. What was he, if not? What was the thing about to do to me? What was Richter about to do to it? I don't know. I don't know any of these things, and now I don't want to know. I haven't ever gone back to the forums. I haven't ever looked him up. I haven't ever gone back, and I never will. I used to ghost hunt in pursuit of knowledge, but if that's what's there, but if that's what there is to know, then I can say with confidence that life is better in the dark. Hmm. I see. So this story is a story about a specific SCP. SCP-3663. Maybe we'll read that one day. Whack. Whack. And that was the smell of cellulose. Let's go to online dating. Online dating. It was my friend, Renard, who really got into it. The whole magic thing. I mean, it was the summer between high school and college, and I really noticed that we were going out our separate ways. I was going into a 4-year to study computer science, and he was staying in our hometown, taking a gap year. That last summer before I left, I asked him where he was expecting to go from there, and he just sort of shrugged at me. "Nowhere yet," he said. He wasn't really willing to elaborate, so I left it alone. Our communication was pretty sparse during my freshman year in college, not non-existent. It was the third trimester, and I was catching on that some. Oh, and I. It was the third trimester I was catching on that something might have been weird. He'd asked. No, he'd asked that when I came back home for the summer, I'd hit him up and we'd hang out. Said he'd had some crazy shit show me. So when I came back, I unpacked, had a nice dinner with my folks, and after one sleep and a groggy breakfast, my first activity was to head over to Renard's house. He lived pretty near the downtown of Paris, Maine. His family had a big house on the Chipman Street, right behind the McLaughlin Garden, though it was just he and his mom living there after his dad died and his siblings all moved out. When I arrived, he looked weird. "Hey, Orson. Stoked to see you again," he said as he pulled me into a hug. "Yeah, it's been a while," I replied. "Seriously." He broke the contact and waved me in. "How have you been?" "Oh, good. Stressed. Coursework has been killing me, slowly but surely." I chuckled. "Yeah," he said back, stuffing his hands into his pockets. "Other than that, not much," I continued. "I've been too busy to make any meaningful connections, you know? Mostly just studying and then my part-time job. Plus, nearly half of the classes are online. Who knew that you could teach computer science so effectively through a computer?" I chuckled again, just to add to the non-humor of boring college life. "Uh-huh. said, giving a shy smile. I sat down at a stool by the kitchen counter. So, how about you? He shrugged.
Uh, Same old, same old. Been kinda mooching off my mom for a while now. She's got hella empty nest syndrome, so she's really hesitant to complain about me hanging around.
Alright, sure. But, like, what do you do with all your time, I mean? He shifted his weight and looked a ways off. I could hear birds twittering outside in the morning light, and it looked like he was listening to them too.
Well,
He said, but he paused slightly before continuing.
hey, why don't you just come up to my room? I can show you what I've been up to, actually.
I shrugged. Sure. Show me how the boys' room has evolved since I left. Ren chuckled.
It's different.
He led me upstairs, and we walked around the indoor balcony to the door to his room. When he opened the door, well, I wasn't sure what I expected, but you have to understand that for as long as I knew Ren, he wasn't, like, religious or anything. Whoa, you've been getting into metal? I asked, but he said,
No, not really.
The room was covered head to toe in all this occult imagery that I'd never seen before. I just knew it was occult because it's such an aesthetic in shows. Pentagrams, birds' feet, but also a lot more computer parts than I'd seen before. It looked like he had the component parts of, like, 5 different computer towers strewn across his room. There was a whole stack of fans on his desk, topped with some twigs. He had what looks like trellises that he'd weaved some herbs into. It was so different from the pile of clothes, glow-in-the-dark stars, and boxy TV with a GameCube cube hooked up to it that I remembered from only a year ago. Where the TV was, he'd built his own desk, complete with the glowing keyboard, double monitors, and beefy headset. Hey, I sauntered over to it. I thought you were console for life,
Yeah, me too.
he said. His hands were still stuffed deep into his pockets with his sweatpants, and there was a hunch to his back I'd never seen before. It really looked like, in the year I'd left him alone, he'd completely reverted into being a cave dweller. It was kind of funny, and I would have ribbed him for it if he didn't look so nervous. So, I filled the silence. Was this the crazy thing he wanted to show me, the redesign?
Uh, Not quite.
He gracefully showed me that he was trying to get to a drawer in his desk that I was blocking, so I moved out of the way.
So I got a new pet.
He announced. I raised my eyebrows a bit as he opened the drawer, and it smelled kind of like hay. Moreover, I heard oinks. No doubt about it. He turned around and he was holding a little teacup pig. Wow, I said, extending my hands to hold the fuzzy little thing. This is, well, it's adorable. What's its name? Ren shrugged.
Oinkers, I guess?
You guess? He shrugged. He was making it a habit of shrugging. Then it dawned on me. You keep it in a drawer?
Yeah, so there's more to it than that.
He grabbed Oinkers out of my hand, but I resisted slightly. I wasn't so sure if I trusted him with the little thing.
This is.
Oh, wait. This is, like, a big change, I prodded. Occult stuff, those computer bits, and a pet? Like, I mean, I don't want to sound upset at change happening in your life, but I'm genuinely confused. What's going on?
Uh, okay. Well, I'm gonna show you something, and you have to promise me to not freak out. Especially 'cause
He shifted his weight again, leaning heavily on his left foot and avoiding eye contact.
Mom is downstairs and I don't want her to freak out or anything, okay?
I narrowed my eyes at him. Okay, but like, are you gonna explain this stuff afterwards?
It is an explanation, but like, it's more like a demonstration. Just watch, okay?
He put the pig on the floor and it started trotting about aimlessly, just sniffing about, just sniffing at things. Ren made his way over to one of the messes of wires and plugs and parts and dug through. He eventually found a little hard drive, a solid state drive, I think, and placed it in front of the oinkers. The pig started sniffing at it, but turned and trotted away.
No.
Ren said, picking the thing up with one hand and turning it around so it was faced with the drive again. It started sniffing, and after it looked up at him with some confusion, he just pushed the drive towards it. I cracked a smile. What? Are you trying to feed it code? Ren let out a strange chuckle.
Sort of.
Before I could respond, he said,
There it goes.
it was a bit disorienting at first. No, that's not it. It was very disorienting at first. But Oinkers was snorting really loudly. Louder than I expected a pig of its size to be able to snort. And as funny as that sounds, it was like... Louder than I expected a pig of its size to be able to snort. And as funny as that sounds, it was like... And as funny as that sounds, it was like... Louder than I expected a pig of its size to be able to snort. And as funny as that may sound, right in my ears... Wait. And as funny as that sounds... Oh. Oh, I see. Okay, okay. Let me restart that. A nugget was, It was a bit disorienting at first. No, that's not it. It was very disorienting at first. But Oinkers was snorting really loudly. Louder than I expected a pig of its size to be able to snort. And as funny as that sounds, it was like right in my ears. That was how loud it was. Then the pig started to, like, glow. I know it sounds crazy, but I swear I saw it. It just started snorting and glowing pink. It sounds funny when I say it, but it wasn't. It was like I had to shield my eyes from it, and when the glow was gone, and I felt like I had regained my senses, I put down my arms and didn't see a pig anywhere. I guess it was because I was so dizzy that I didn't immediately notice that the hard drive had, well, this sounds crazy, but it had little legs. I swear. It had little legs, and it had little legs, and on the front of it was like this snout, right? It looked like it was part of this device. Like the hard drive was the same, but it had a snout. Not just a pig snout, like a hard drive snout. The same color of the metal and the everything about it just made sense in a way that I can't define or describe. And just thinking about it now nearly makes me want to vomit. Oinkers the hard drive. Oinkers the hard drive. I know it sounds silly, but that's how it feels when utter nonsense happens right before your eyes. So my first instinct was to shout, "What the fuck, dude?" Shh! He tried to silence me immediately, making head motions to the floor to remind me of his mom's presence. What the fuck? I said in a more hushed tone of voice.
I know, he said, trying to calm me down. It's just, if I said it did that, you wouldn't have believed me, would you?
My eyes couldn't stop staring at that thing on the floor, walking around and snorting every once in a while. It was like a big hairy spider that you can't allow out of your sight in case it's disappeared when you look back, able to appear from under any paper, out from any crevice. It was hard to keep it was hard to keep up a conversation with Renard when I was so distracted by the intruder to my reality. I guess I wouldn't have, I conceded.
Well, there, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So I waved a hand in the direction of all the stuff on the walls. It's all magic stuff?
That's sort of the idea, yeah. Can I show you one more thing? It's less crazy, I swear.
I looked at him and tried to silently communicate that less crazy was a really very low bar. He didn't seem to notice. He picked up I guess it was oinkers. He picked it up and I was able to see that its tail or its cord was all curled up. And then he plugged it in the end, I mean. He plugged it into his computer tower. The thing just sort of scampered on the floor, but I guess it wasn't strong enough to pull free of the connection. So it just ran in place sometimes and otherwise stood still and snorted. He booted up his PC and waved me over. I was still trying to keep a healthy distance between myself and oinkers, but he really insisted. I decided to stand the side of Ren that kept him between me and the pig. Hard drive. Oinkers. I noticed that he was running Windows Vista Home Premium, which was at least some point of familiarity. It looked like, despite all the parts he'd accumulated, he'd made a computer with an outdated OS. That was so typically Renard that it almost lifted some weight off my heart, as long as I didn't look at the thing on the floor. Little hard drive pig. I want to see that. That sounds really interesting, actually. Hard drive pig. That is a really funny, mental image. Having a very vivid imagination is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in times like these. It's a curse when I hear about stuff in detail that I don't want to hear about. Anyways, let's get back. I watched him navigate the file explorer to get to the files on the hard drive, the files in Oinkers. I watched him open it up, and I heard the pig start to snort a little more when he opened the files, which made me have some strange thoughts about what exactly accessing the code inside a living being must feel like. But as I shook that train of thought out of my head, like the files coming out of Oinkers, Ren patted me with the back of his hand, trying to get me to come back to reality.
Look, this is the stuff I need help with.
He pointed to the files. Sorry, help? I responded.
Yeah, so, see, I don't wanna...
He trailed off.
I don't want to be disrespectful or anything, but your reaction should be, like, reason enough. Like, you can see where I'm coming from. But I don't want people to know about this. I'm letting you in on it because you're a computer science major and I don't know what I'm doing.
I don't know what you're doing, I reminded him. He turned around in his seat and looked at the ground.
Right.
He said. There was a pause where the only noises were a whirring computer fan and the oinks of oinkers. Renard sighed.
So Oinker's here is, he's supposed to help me ascend or something.
I raised my eyebrows at him. This is not less crazy, which is what you promised me.
No, come on. He sounded flustered. Just listen for a second. Look. There's this guy, Felix. We met him while you were still around, senior year of high school. I didn't really know what I was going to be doing with my life. Well, I still don't know what I'm going to be doing with my life. But I wasn't having, any luck with, meeting people here in Paris, It's a pretty small town, and so, I know the dating pool, and there just weren't a lot of guys I'm really on the lookout for. Know what I mean? So, senior year, I started looking at online options, and I guess I never told you because I was embarrassed. But I found a site that really looked like it was my thing. It was catered towards my interests, old tech and old games, and just stuff that was really up my alley. I got into the community, and I guess I stumbled across something.
I couldn't. What do you mean, something?
Well, I mean that I found that it wasn't just old tech, it was
He paused. I decided to take my guess at it. Magic tech?
I think they called it transcendent tech, he supplied. I started talking to Felix, and I found out pretty quick, that Felix isn't real. No, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, Felix isn't tangible.
I didn't know what I was hearing.
You mean,
I thought for a second. He's a computer?
more like he's not here. And computers are an information medium, so he can communicate through. And,
Ren pointed to Oinkers.
this is what he sent me, so that we can be together, for real.
For real? I repeated. He nodded. What does for real mean? He paused, and then,
Do I have to go into details?
I was confused for a moment, and then it clicked. Oh, right. Oh, God, sorry. No. That makes sense and everything. He nodded. And you need my help because
I can't figure out these files. I mean, I know what to do once these files run, but I can't get them to run. I figured you might know something. The file extensions were .oink. I'd never seen them before.
Oh, sorry. That wasn't Ren, that was just normal text. The file extensions were .oink. I'd never seen them before, but... So, what do you want me to do? He unplugged Oinkers, picked it up, and presented it to me, at which I took a startled step backwards. I had nearly been able to forget that it existed.
Take her home, he said. Fiddle with it, and if you can get the files to run, bring her back to me, that's all.
Are you serious? I asked. He nodded energetically.
Dead serious, he said. It would mean the world to me, Orson.
So, that catches us up to the present, more or less. I did what he asked, really. I snuck Oinkers home, and I plugged him into my computer. I guess there was a kind of shock to it all that let me forget about the insanity. Or maybe I haven't given up on the idea that Oinkers was doing something to my head. Because I definitely wasn't thinking clearly. It took me about a week but I cracked open the files, got them to run on my computer. I sent it back to him. I swear to you, that's all I did. I guess when he asked me if he needed to go into details, I should have said yes. I don't know what I was expecting. I just, you know, it dawned on me, right? That it was all my fault. That I literally handed Oinkers back to him when I could have not. I could have gotten rid of the thing. Sure, Ren would have hated me, but I wouldn't have had to watch his mom cry or walk upstairs and find him. I know it sounds crazy, but he still texts me sometimes. I haven't responded yet. I don't think I will either. I don't think I will. Oh. And this is related to SCP-2779. Oh. Oh. Wankers. I see. And that was online dating. Ren became digitized. Ren was put into the computer. He was put into the game. That's actually kind of crazy. I do like Oinkers though. Just the thought of a hard drive becoming a hard drive teacup piglet or pig is really sort of adorable in its own way. Maybe because it's a teacup piglet or pig. Piglets are babies. Teacup pigs are just small piggies. Small piggy, small piggy, small piggy. Small piggy, piggy, piggy. Okay. And now, on to the next story. The next story. Smoking on company time. Wait, what if? 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 Hold on. What if we do that? What if we do that? We can do that. We can do that. We can do that. Okay. Smoking on company time. I'm a researcher at Biosite 66. I've never been a part of the most important stuff. I've never been one of the big shots. Hell, I don't know what the most important stuff is. It's not my clearance to know, but that's a comfort, not a curse. I have gotten the faintest inklings that it's better to not know. We die in the dark, so you can live in the light type stuff. Well, I like to die in the dark, with at least a flashlight in hand, so to speak. So that's why it doesn't bother me when I get assigned to the small stuff. It's what I'm good at. The pay is amazing, and I get a fair bit of downtime too. I was between things when they assigned me to Skip 13. I always expected the low numbers to be more important, so when the errand boy slid the little pack of cigarettes and its associated paperwork onto my desk, I got a little nervous. But when I read it over, my concerns were eased slightly. They were straightforward little things. I played with one or two in my hands and looked them over. Apparently, all they did was make the smoker start to think of themselves as a woman. Not just any woman, but a blue woman. With blue hair, blue lipsticks. With blue hair, blue lipstick, blue dress, the whole shebang. A simple, perception affecting anomaly. Hell, it was basically a more specific psychedelic. Harmless, suspiciously so. You get a healthy helping of paranoia working at the foundation, no matter how close to the bottom you are. I remember this, SCP. I remember this one. Yeah, we had read about that one. Yeah, we'd read about that one. My first question was what I was even supposed to do with it. So I looked over the attached memo, and when I was finished, I laughed out loud. Of course. What else was I supposed to do with it? The SCP 013 research team has concerns about the breadth of their test subjects. It read. So, to make sure they weren't just testing it on D class criminals, it looks like they wanted someone with a little more going on in the noggin. Of course, no one on the team smoked. So, that naturally meant they were mine. The note said, smoke them at whatever pace I liked, and return a self evaluation to the Skip 13 research team upon depletion of my supply. Oh, and to take plenty of notes on the progression of its effects. Of course. Why not? I was probably an unknowing guinea pig to any number of unidentified cognito hazards in the site already. It was about time it was made official, and I got a pay bonus for it. Fine. I thought to myself, I might even enjoy it. You never know. You never know. You never actually know. Oops, whoopsie daisy. So I leaned back in my chair and decided to begin the process promptly. I retrieved my trusty lighter, flicked it on, and brought the white paper to my mouth. What are you, British? Nah, I ain't British. Who's British? No one's British here. Hello, Jamie. Welcome in. How are you doing? And brought the white paper to my mouth, pulling in a deep drag of the hazy blue smoke that resulted. And what a nice feeling it was. Smoking on company time, in my office. Hell, the taste wasn't half bad either. It's Friday, gonna have more days off for Christmas. Let's go. That's good news. Very good to hear. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I looked at my fingers. I looked at my chest, my legs, my feet. I pulled out my phone and looked in its reflection. I thought to myself. I guess it doesn't work that fast. I turned on my phone and began a note that read, First pull, no effects. That was my Friday. After that, I packed my things, said goodbye to the few coworkers who mattered to me, and all along the drive home, I fondled the new toys in my pocket. Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. Christmas, Christmas, Christmas. I've never been the modest type, so I liked my property to match my income. After stepping out of my car, I was in essentially the middle of nowhere. When you're a part of the Foundation, it paid to not have neighbors to worry about, or connections in general. I walked past my front yard's fountain and fished the keys out of my pocket. When I unlocked the door, I stepped inside, and the temperature dropped several degrees. This was it, my house. Oh yeah, Jamie. Gonna be uploading the previous readings we've done to YouTube starting tomorrow. I'm gonna get them the first two chopped up tonight, and I'm gonna have two of the stories uploaded per day until the end of the year. So there should be just about 20 readings on YouTube by the end of the year. So I'm excited for that all to be uploaded. But back to the story. It was roomy, 2 stories, and the foyer had a chandelier. I didn't have much to fill with it. I didn't have much to fill it with. Mostly bought it because I could. I had little other than some cat towers. Okay, better. I had little other than some cat towers here and there for my pets to play around on. They were the only other residents in my manor. I liked it that way. Dogs were too attached at the hip for my liking. Missy came up to me and started weaving between my legs, but I ignored her. I had a weekend and a pack, and I was going to have to get through them. So I walked through the dining room, past the kitchen, and up the cramped staircase that led me to my room. My room was rather Spartan. A queen-sized bed took up nearly a quarter of it, and the rest was graced with only a desk, a closet, and of course the door to my bathroom. I decided to pull my chair over to my window. I opened the thing, sat down, and made it my goal to smoke until I noticed something. Should be easy enough, I thought, and took my second long, drawn-out pull. It took a few minutes of sitting and puffing to go through a whole cigarette. I was slow and methodical with it, and all throughout it, I was repeating my process, looking first at my hands, then my chest, then my legs, just to see if anything had changed. By the end of that first cigarette, I wasn't noticing anything. My hands were still mine, my body was still mine. I had remained unchanged. So I pulled out my phone, went to take a note, and that's when I saw it. My reflection on the black screen. It was different. But with the glare of the sun coming through the window, the specifications on that difference were lost to me. So I stood up with more than a little excitement and made my way to my bathroom to get a nice look in the mirror. Oh, what a look it was. They weren't lying. She was so blue. So blue, it attacked the senses. Her bright blue lipstick, her hair, her nails, her dress, her eyes, too. Blue from top to bottom, except for the hue of her skin, which was this pale white. Her hair and dress made me think she wouldn't look out of place in the roaring 20s. That and her posture. The way she favored one foot, and how she held her cigarette in such a fancy, seductive way. But then, I realized I was doing that. I quickly corrected. Right. This was my reflection, even if it looked different. I held my hand out in front of me. No. In the real world, my nails weren't painted. In the reflection, however, my movements were copied exactly by the lady. I let out a laugh. What could I say? It was novel. I took out my phone and opened my notes, chuckling again when I saw her long, azure nails whenever the screen turned black. First full cig, I wrote. Reflection looks like her. Hmm. Her. I paused at the word choice. Looking back up at the mirror and leaning over my sink, I got a good look deep into her eyes. Who was she? Did she exist at some point? Maybe, maybe not. With skips, it was of equal likelihood that she could be a ghost or an invention. Maybe these cigarettes were supposed to be some kind of work of art. Who knew? That wasn't my job to know. My job was just to test it out. And so it occurred to me, because I was trying to record all the mental effects, that maybe I should write down that she looked familiar. I walked out of the bathroom and took the cigarettes with me down the stairs. I opened my front door and decided to take a short stroll around my house, just walking through my mismanaged gardens I'd let overgrow. Suddenly, for some reason, I decided that I didn't want to be cooped up in that place. There was a feeling I was trying to ignore, and I thought maybe a change of scenery could make it go away. I took out my phone and made a note. Woman feels familiar. Beginning second cigarette. I lifted the thing to my mouth and took a pull. The blue smoke that came out of my nose dissipated into the late afternoon sun, which was soon to set over the trees, making the shadows long and the air chill. Her. I thought it again. The documentation never specified any emotions that the subjects felt towards the blue lady. They slowly began to perceive themselves as. Was this an entirely personal experience? It was strange. Of course. With stress tinted my thoughts, I began to instinctively bring the cigarette to my mouth. Familiar. She seemed intimately familiar. What are we reading right now? We are reading go back real quick. Dark Stuff for Sleepless Nights. Smoking on Company Time. So just some SCP creepypastas. And then perhaps starting the ABCs of death after these. Because there's only a handful of these creepypastas. And then to finish everything off, we're going to read Joey F. Nuts. Because it seems like a little comical story. Oh, yes, yes. I remember you talking about them, and it got me curious. And I'm excited to read them. Familiar. She seemed intimately familiar, which was odd, because I definitely didn't know any blue women, nor was I very versed on the 20s. So it must have been something else. Something in her face, then? KS Keystone is your phasies. Maybe we'll be able to get to that one. We'll see. I caught myself looking at her face in the reflection on my phone. Yes, that was it. She faintly remembered someone I used to know. A crush, actually, from high school. K is for... Oh. K is for Keystone. I see. Okay. I figured out where she took her lunches by asking around. Wasn't very hard to find. What I was surprised to find out when I walked, what I was surprised to find out when I walked behind the gym to take my first peek was that there on the asphalt of the basketball courts, she smoked. It wasn't peer pressure, not directly, anyways. I just wanted to impress her. I wanted to infiltrate her group, and you know what they all did? They smoked. So, my dad had cigs. I figured, hey, there was an easy solution to my issue. And when I did eventually ask her out, she said no, of course. Because I was some weird short kid who she didn't know at all. Or maybe she was just mean. I don't really have the energy to spend to reason that out. But that was that. She moved, and then sophomore year and onward, I just still smoked. I still smoke now. Habits die hard, or something like that. Looking at her reflection, it wasn't even an uncanny resemblance. They were different people, certainly. But wasn't it a strange coincidence? The woman who made me smoke looked like the woman I was smoking. It bothered me. So I put the phone away, I rose the cigarette to my mouth, and puffed. Someone more reasonable than me might have been self-conscious about smoking in the first place. But I've never felt particularly upset at the self-destruction. No. What bothered me about smoking was that it never felt like me. It always, inevitably, felt like her. That was the one thing I truly appreciated about working at the Foundation. The privacy of it all. Hell, I barely interacted with other humans. Er, hell. Hell, I barely interacted with other human beings entirely. They were nearly cut out of my life. Paperwork and high risk for good pay. Sounds like a deal made in heaven even now. So it began to weigh on me, as I rounded the corner on my house, that I had just unknowingly committed to a weekend of reminders. I pulled out my phone. Second cigarette. No noticeable difference. Will update when something changes. I ended up circling around to this old fountain that was on the property. It was full of water, but it wasn't running, because it, like the rest of my house, was left relatively unmaintained since I purchased it. The stagnant water had some little fish in it, and I was always slightly curious how they survived. I nearly raised another cigarette to my lips, but no. I tucked it back into the case and pocketed it. Usually, smoking calmed my nerves. That day, things were different. I stood up, went inside, and went to bed early. That seems like something he should probably jot down in his notes. I think, in retrospect, that might have been a bad idea, because that night, I had my worst dream in a long, long time. Mind affecting anomaly plus sleep? The time when your mind is at its most vulnerable? It seems so obvious looking back. It's been difficult to sleep ever since. In fact, excuse me, but I don't want to talk about it. Besides, you're likely more interested in what happened next. I woke up, as people often do from nightmares, screaming. Sweat was so thick, my clothes were sticking to my body, except I couldn't quite tell where. My body map was so... I couldn't tell where my clothes were, or what I was wearing exactly. I could just feel that horrible sticking to skin, that moisture that had collected from everywhere along my body, and I found myself on all fours, hands straddling my pillow that I was screaming down into, knees behind me, and as I looked down, all I could see was the barely moonlit darkness of my room and the smudges on the pillow. When I came to enough to realize I was awake, that things were better, if not okay, I, uh, I reached my hand over and I pulled my phone off of the nightstand and I couldn't help but turn the flashlight on. And that pillow, so smudged, I saw ash, little bits of ash all around my bed, and, stains, blue, stains of blue lipstick. I wiped at my lips instinctively, and I accidentally, goddamn, goddamn it, I accidentally scratched myself with the nails, right? She has such long nails, right? Thank fucking God I lived alone because I couldn't handle it. The file said that a full transformation would take, like, well, I don't remember, but this was fast. So much faster than I was expecting. So I wasn't thinking straight. And the first thing I do when I'm not thinking straight is I take a smoke, because that's just the kind of guy I am. So I grabbed the cigarettes, I scrambled for my lighter, and when I flicked the flame on, I flinched and dropped it. Because in the reflection... Oh, pause for just a sec. Ads are running now. Don't need to continue if the ads are going. I want anyone to potentially miss a section of the story. Oi, oi, oi. Time to eat a little snacky. The blue cigarettes. The blue cigarettes. Hmm. Yeah, because I think when I read about uh, SCP-13, that it wasn't 500 cigarettes. I think it was only mentioned that, like, D-class personnel had been tested to use them. Which would also make sense in, like, timeline for this story. Which would make sense. Makes a lot of sense now. I wonder if his personality is going to change as well. That would be interesting. Oh, personality shift. He transforms into the blue woman. Maybe that is how it'll end. But we don't know yet. Not yet. Not yet. Maybe we'll know once the ads are finished. Once the ads are done. Once the ads are done. I'm excited to read the ABCs of Death. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Okay. Glad I don't smoke anymore. Except that grass. Yeah. Well, that's good. Cigs are just bad. Bad for health. Bad. Bad. Grass is better. Let's see, let's see. Uh, so much faster than I was expecting. So, I wasn't thinking straight. And the first thing I do when I'm not thinking straight is I take a smoke, because that's just the kind of guy I am. So I grabbed the cigarettes, I scrambled for my lighter, and when I flicked the flame on, I flinched and dropped it. Because in the reflection, in the. Sorry. In the reflection, the face I saw wasn't fucking. It wasn't. Well, it wasn't her exactly. But it wasn't me either. It wasn't. Well, it was. No. I don't want to talk about it. Well and truly. It doesn't mean anything to you. It won't mean anything to you, except there's a reason that my door is always closed and locked, and that I take my lunches in my office. The paperwork sprawled across my desk. There's a reason my house is big and empty. There's a reason I'm not going to like you, and you're not going to like me. I hate smoking because she made me do it. Every time I bring that thing to my mouth, I'm just reminded that if she hadn't smoked, I wouldn't have smoked. Reminded that if my dad hadn't had cigarettes, I wouldn't have had cigarettes. That if my mom didn't tell me to wear polos, I never would have. If my teacher hadn't told me how to do math equations, I wouldn't know. So, what did I do? What part of me is me? So that's what I saw. Looking at the reflection in the lighter, I saw her in me, but not just her. I saw everyone. So that first scratch, I guess I exacerbated it, didn't I? She has such long nails, such long nails. And I thought if I didn't want to look like her, then I'd rather look like no one, right? But it didn't work. Every time I looked in the mirror, she's there, pristine. It's just my face, my skin that's gone. I'm still her, in a way. Well, there is one good thing that's come of this, smoking. Terrible habit, right? Well, now, I can't even look at them. Isn't that crazy? Just thinking about them makes me nauseous. So that's a good thing, right? Self-improvement or something like that. And she made me smoke, so that can't have been her, right? I did that, right? I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I don't know. I hope it was me. Oh. And that was smoking on company time. Interesting. So in a way he went mad. Claude scratched off his own face to become no one. But the blue woman, the blue lady, is still there. Still there. Still there. This is Say Cheese. Say Cheese. I'm just a mortician. Or really, mortician's assistant. I'm not paid to ask questions about the dead bodies. Just pick them up and move them back to the morgue. It's not my place, right? But humans make observations. That's just something you can't help. And I was beginning to pick up a pattern. This lady was old. Real old. And she lived in this big old house. I wish I could say it was up on a hill just to really cinch the look. but everything around here is flat and open. It was just old. She died alone, and there were no hints of foul play, so there were no real suspicion. No, so there was no real suspicion. Sometimes, when you're an old foggy living alone, you just die. Nothing much to it. It's not even particularly sad. So I went in, not alone. Christine was there with me, fellow undertaker, and we got to undertaking. Just a big old house, smelled like mildew, dark fine wood. You get the gist. This body, so when we found her, she was just lying there, in her bed, old and dead. And that's just the thing about it. People usually die with this expression on their face. Well, lack there lack thereof, you know? It's usually just neutral. So that was what was so weird about it. I mean, it's creepy in its own right, but people just don't die smiling that often. And here was this old lady lying in bed, and damn it, she just had this smile like someone had told her she'd won the lottery that morning. But instead, you know, she was dead. Not a lot of reason to be happy. Maybe she'd seen her husband in her final moments, awaiting her at the pearly gates, or. Well, when Christine and I were loading her up onto the gurney, I just couldn't get it out of my head, you know? That that was what, the fourth person to die smiling that month? So I asked, Christy, am I going crazy, or is this the fourth person to die with a big ass grin on their face this month? And she just rolled her eyes and said, Oh, I don't know. But if it was, wouldn't that be wonderful? And we just left it off like that. Brought her out into the car, loaded her up, drove her back to the morgue. Just another day in Grandview. So why am I singling this woman out for the story? Well, because as a mortician, part of your job is to dress people up for their funerals, right? You might see where this is going. It was a late night, not because I'm one for dramatics, but just because it was. And I was in the morgue, and it was maybe a day or two before this poor woman's funeral. Seems like she had a couple living relatives, and they weren't doing too bad for themselves. So they'd pay to really have her done up, you know? Usually Christine did it, makeup and all. But I was trained and she'd taken the day off, so it was my job. I pulled her out of the compartment in the wall, urged her onto the granny, and got her onto the table. Horrible thing is, she was still smiling. Just beaming those little yellow teeth out into the world. Like her smile was the greatest thing there was to have. And I just wondered, well, are they really expecting her to be smiling at the open casket? At the funeral? I wasn't sure that was so appropriate, so I tried to start devising ways to get it to go away. I started poking and prodding, and that's when I made the discovery. Opened the mouth, looked in, and bam! I shut that thing right up, and I guess I didn't do too good at my job, because I put her right back into her locker and closed up early. I figured we'd just dress her up tomorrow morning, when Christine was around. So we did. That next morning, Christine pushed the door open to the break room, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, Why didn't you dress up that old lady like I asked? And I had to tell her, Well, come here, I'll show you. And we pried open that mouth of hers, and I could barely look in. But Christine just laughed and slapped me on the shoulder and said, Oh, silly, some people are just like that. And I'm like, don't doubt her. No, I don't doubt her at all. She'd never lie to me. But it's just, I'd never seen someone to have 2 rows of teeth. It was something I could have brushed off on a good day, but. Well, I asked Christine, are you sure just anyone can have that? What about her smile? She's been smiling since we got her. It can't just be a coincidence, can it? Why, she replied, of course it can. And we just left it off like that. Now, I don't want you to start thinking things of me, alright? It's my job. I can look at the bodies however much I damn well please. And there were others that we'd picked up. Looked like they died in their homes, but that they had these big old smiles on their faces. And I just had to know, alright? I had to. So I picked one. Some guy named Richard. Slid him right out of the wall. Pulled that tarp off of him, and he was still smiling. Proud as ever. Proud as ever to be deader than carpet. And I put my gloved fingers right between his teeth, and I just pried and pried against his stiff, rigor mortis mouth, and when I got it open, it was, well, it was as I suspected. There they were, 2 rows of teeth. No, worse. I started prying harder, trying to get a better look, and right as I thought I saw a 3rd row, I swear to you. Now don't think me crazy. He bit me. Bit me. My fingers caught in his mouth. I started yelling and pulling, and I got my fingers out, but he'd torn my glove, and I still have a nasty bruise from the whole thing. And then I startled like the devil. And then I startled like the devil had looked right at me. Because at first, that's what I thought I was seeing. His eyes all open and looking right at me. My heart nearly leapt out of my chest. But it only took a moment, breathing and collecting myself, for me to realize his eyelids must have just fluttered open in the struggle. And I passed my hand over them, closing them so he didn't have to keep looking at the mortal plane anymore. Sent him right on back to his maker. So I guess that's when I knew something was wrong. Not just felt it, knew for certain. And of course, because things always seem to work out this way, that's when things started getting worse. Still in the morgue, I pulled out my phone and decided to dial Christine. It wasn't that late, maybe 8 o'clock, so I figured she was probably still awake, reading in bed or something like that. But I just couldn't shake a feeling. I had the phone up to my ear, and every time I heard that dial tone, it felt like it was masking something. Every time that ring, and it felt like something was happening under it. Something closer. So I lowered my phone and just listened. It was quiet and cold. The morgue has to be cold to keep the bodies from decomposing, and it has to be silent because the dead don't make a lot of noise. So you could pretty easily tell when there was someone in the morgue with you. So there I was, listening, and I didn't hear nothing. Quiet. Just like I expected it. So I brought the phone back up to my ear and found that it was Christine's voice telling me I had made it to her voicemail and that I should leave a message. So it beeped and I started talking. Christine, I just pulled out Richard, the poor fellow who died 2 weeks ago. The first one we found smiling, right? Well, I opened his mouth just to check. And I swear to you, he has more than 1 row of teeth. 2 at least, maybe 3. But then I felt the need to have two ears alert again. I couldn't get it out of my head that I might be hearing something. Maybe an animal had found its way inside and was rummaging around? But something in my soul told me that wasn't quite right. No, it was something a little worse than that. I didn't know what, but I knew I didn't want to be around to find out.
Do you hear that, Christine?
I whispered into the phone.
You know what? Just talk to me tomorrow. I'm gonna head home.
I hung up and listened, and I listened again. No. What really made me realize that it was a real noise I was hearing. It must have been an echo. The morgue is all metal, and the quality of sound just bounces around the room, so when I heard it echoing around, I knew it couldn't have just been in my head. Something was here. Something was here. Well, it didn't take me 2 seconds to figure out where I was going. I pocketed my phone, dashed out the door, and went home. Wasn't a power on Earth that could keep me in the morgue longer than that. Only 1 or 2 powers in heaven, too. The next morning was when things really started getting awful. I woke up to my alarm clock, got out of bed, and felt like the last thing I wanted to do in the world was go into work. But what I do is important, and I knew that. So I stretched, went into my bathroom, and started brushing my teeth. Oh Lord in heaven, brushing my teeth. Something felt weird while I was brushing. But it was when I flossed that my finger brushed up against something. Something lodged into my gums, right behind my 2 top front teeth. There's no words in English to describe just the panic you feel when you start connecting the dots like that. So I was digging with my fingernails, trying to really get a grip on this thing in my mouth, and I started getting it loose. It hurt. Damn, did it hurt. But there was not a possibility of inaction. I had to get it out. And out I got it. Out and into the sink. Unmistakably, a tooth. Well, maybe you see my pattern by now, but the very first thing I did, before even thinking of tending to my bleeding mouth, I pulled out my phone. I was going to call Christine. But it looked like I had voicemail from her.
Jim,
came her voice. A body's missing. Get her quick. When I arrived, there were already police there, and Christine was waiting for me at the door to the morgue. What's going on? I asked.
didn't you get my message? A body's missing,
she said. No, I know that. I mean, what body?
Oh, some guy.
She fished for the name.
Richard.
I felt my heart sink in my chest. Richard? I asked, for clarification's sake.
Yep, Richard Moorhead, if I remember correctly, she said. I'm sure it's nothing.
Sure, it's nothing? What do you... I trailed off before I could say something revealing. Did you get my message?
What message?
She flashed me a big, pearly white smile. And for some reason, that didn't make me feel a lick better. Nothing, I said. And we just left it off like that. That's when a police officer came up to me and asked, "Are you Jim Yakubi?" "I'm him," I said. "We have some questions for you." And they pulled me aside, and there were 2 of them. One just asking questions, another with a notepad. "Christine told us that you were the last one here yesterday," the officer said. Did anything unusual happen when you were closing up last night? I clammed up. Ah, well, yes, sir. I thought I might have heard a noise. What kind? He asked. Well, I'm not sure, really. I thought it might have been a large animal, but I left shortly after. Interesting. And what did you do when you closed up? There was something so subtly off about the officer. I couldn't quite place it, but I'd never been one to be very wary of men of the law. But these ones, I just felt like something was off, you know? And that's when I noticed that the one looking down so intently, looking down at his notepad, was smiling. So wide. This smile like someone had told him he just won the lottery that morning. I locked up, I lied. It's a quiet business and there's not much to do. I cleaned up and locked up. That's all there was to it. Alright, alright. That should be all, he said. Really? I wasn't expecting to be done with the interview so quick. He responded, why not? Well, why is he smiling? I asked, a hint of panic making it into my voice. What in the world has he got to smile about? The other officer looked up from his notepad. That grin plastered to his face, and he said, Me? Why, I'm just happy to be here. The first policeman chuckled and shrugged. Is that so strange? He said. Is that so strange? I had to get out of there. Thank you. I'll be taking my leave, I said. Take care, came the reply. That smile, so wide, that grin so salivating. And when he spoke, I swear, I could have sworn. No, I don't need to know. I had to take a vacation. I walked right back to my car, and Christine saw me along the way. Where you going, Jim? She called after me, teeth clenched like a bear ready to maul me. Home, I lied again. I'm going to take the day off. I figured I had enough on me. I just needed to get out of town. You know how cats can tell when an earthquake's about to happen? I think that was the feeling. I knew something weird was going on, and I just wanted to be out of there, away from it all, my mouth still bleeding, my fingers still bruised. I just felt like if I stayed, something far worse was going to happen. I ended up right in that regard. I wound up in a motel that night, somewhere far away. I don't even remember the town, really. I just kept driving until I was sure nothing could catch me, even if I didn't know what would catch me if it did. The room was small, it was dim, there was a TV, and it was brown top to bottom. Just a dingy motel room like you'd expect. I put my things down, and I felt like I could finally breathe, but all I wanted to do was sleep. So I flicked the TV on just to have it in the background, and walked into the bathroom to wash up. I pulled out my toothbrush and brushed my teeth. Oh Lord. I really don't know what I expected, but I felt something was wrong again. I guess that in the turmoil of the day, I had forgotten all about that morning. I immediately put my toothbrush down and dug my fingers into my mouth, trying to figure out what the issue was. And it was so clear. So stupidly clear. It was like there were these little beetles all along my jawline, poking out of my gums. But not just my gums, I could reach a hand back, and there were more bumps. more little beginnings of things, all the way back, so far back that to try and feel them, I accidentally gagged myself, coughed a little bit. And when I did, out into the sink, 4 little teeth, 4 little pearly whites, and a healthy helping of blood to go with them. I was just about to scream, just about to call out for help, when I heard something. Something on the TV. The name of my town, Grandview. I heard another few words too. Unknown causes, for one, and that was enough to make my skin prickle. I walked back into the bedroom, slowly, because I wasn't even sure I wanted to be there. Wasn't sure I wanted to see whatever it was. I think it might have been better if I didn't, to be honest with you. I might have had a better time sitting in the bathroom and digging teeth out of my skull. It only took one image. An image of a face, a horrible, disfigured face, like none I'd ever seen, with teeth growing out of the lips and the chin and the cheeks, almost like hair. Some molars and some canines piercing her skin like spears and clubs, even working their way up to her eyes. So that one, grown on the bottom of her eye socket, come up and press the window into her soul so hard against the top of it that it had popped, that white fluid leaking down her cheek like she was crying. Heaven forsaken, and crying so that anyone might. No, no. That's why I couldn't stand it. I turned it off. But right before I could find the remote, it went back to the reporter. And you can be damn well certain she was smiling like a breastfed baby. Like the world was her oyster. Like everything was going to be fine and more. But then I turned it off. I turned it off and I collapsed. And while tears were streaming down my face, I couldn't help but notice. I couldn't help but catch on the detail. It was Christine. That face was Christine. So I prayed. I got to my knees and I did the only thing I could think of. I pulled my cross necklace out from under my shirt and I prayed. I tried to get God to hear me, to set things straight, to give me, everyone I loved, protection, to send her soul to heaven. Hell, sometimes I don't even know what I'm praying for. I just did it because if I didn't, I knew that I'd be further from his light than I'd ever strayed before, down into the deepest darkness of my mind. I hope he understood me, because I wasn't speaking so straight. My jaw hurt, and try as I might, I couldn't help but smile. Oh. That one was definitely freakier than the previous. Say cheese. Let's see what is the related. The Keter class. Oh. SCP 4910. 100. Whoa. It's an actual being. Bonesy dressed to impress stream? Oh god. Not dressed to impress. Man, that game is just pay to win. That game is pay to win. Maybe I'll do that in the new year. In the new year, we can do a dress to impress stream. Man, that game is pay to win. Pay to win. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 more. Tube slides. Tube slides. It's a normal day. An early day. Sun's still just rising over the horizon. I got started early. Really early. So that I could be done around this time. Let's started building a slide. Big, metal slide. Perfect for getting static shocks. Just what a playground needs, I think. Big, nice slide for the kids. I'm just finishing attaching the actual slide part to the stairs. It's been a long morning, and my arms are starting to hurt. I'm raring to take a break. So I'm really grateful I'm about to be done putting the slide up. My drill the screws into place, and at that point, I'm done. Really done. Some hours of work, and I'd assembled the whole slide. Some parts were pretty heavy. I'm proud of myself. It's just in time, too. I stand back and admire it. When I was a kid, I used to be so scared of slides. So scared. Those tube slides, specifically. I was kind of a big kid, and I was afraid of getting stuck in them. Stupid fear, yeah. But that's why I didn't make this one a tube slide. It's just a half pipe. Just a typical slide for the kids to play on. Just a slide down mostly. I think that's what you do with slides. I never really messed with them. So I take a deep breath, and I pick up my water bottle, and I swig. Cold water trickling down my throat. Like little kids. Oh, like kids down a tube slide. It's break time. Break time. We'll give it a moment, because ads are starting soon. So we'll give it a second. And why not take a short break? Why don't we take a short break? Yeah? Take a short break. Get up. Get some water. Stretch. Go to the bathroom. Do what you need to do. But we'll take a short little itty break. And then when the ads are done, we'll be back to resume the story. Alright. Ads are going. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Okay, okay. Back we are. It seems like the ads are almost done. Ads are almost done. Couple more seconds. Uh-oh. Phew. Phew. Good thing you survived, Anna. It smells weird in my room. It smells weird. It smells weird. Okay. Where were we? Oh, yeah. It's break time. The park is big and open. This playground is just one small section of it. I mosey down a path, past some nice trees, past some nice grass, to a nice little bench, and I sit down. Far enough away from the playground to not look creepy. Guys like me look creepy when we watch kids, but I'm not like them, I swear. I just want to watch them go down my slide, admire my work. It was a full morning, so I went to see my effort pay off. I sit down and wait. It's still early, so it takes a bit for the kids to arrive. Far off enough that I can't see what they look like, but they're here. Oh, but they're there. I see some parents walking around, talking to each other, dutifully keeping their eyes on their kids, like good parents, I think. Oh no. Poor Anna. She has been murdered. In blood. Not cold blood, but blood. Murdered in blood. Again. Oh no, this was Gespent this time. Gespent has been murdered in blood. Oh no. That's two. Yeah. You guys just have the same color, so I immediately assumed it was you, Anna. That's my bad, that's my bad. Spence been killed. However, you were killed earlier. In blood. Now there's been two killings in blood. Not cold blood, because it's roulette, but still blood. So sad. We'll send you both to the morgue. To the Smiling Morgue. And Grand View. I take another sip of water, but I don't stop watching the kids. It doesn't take long for one of them to be attracted to the slide. They walk up the steps, get to the top, sit down, and they slide. They make it down to the bottom and stand up, like how slides work. It's only after they stood that I realize I'm holding my breath. I realize the air from my lungs and take a couple large gulps of air. I take another sip of water. I don't stop watching. The kid, the one who got to the bottom, he goes to the swings. Done so soon, I feel a twinge of sadness. My slide only captivated them for one go of it. I think kids are supposed to do it a couple times. Oh, well. Now Anna's been killed again. For the second time in blood. Roulette blood. This is so sad. We'll send you once again to Grandview Morgue. You can smile along with the rest. As I watch, several pass by it, and I watch. New slide, new slide. They want to go on the new slide. One finally does. My heart rate quickens. They start climbing the steps, and I stop blinking. I don't want to miss it. Kids using my new slide. They get to the top, sit down, and They slide. They make it down. They actually fly off the bottom, they went so fast. Land on their butt in the wood chips. I can't hear them very well, but I think the laughter swells. Parent goes up to them, asks if they're okay, I think, and the kid is gone before they can even give an answer. They go to the monkey bars. No more slide for them. I look away for a second. It's hard, but I take a sip of my water, and I keep watching. Lost 60 points. Uh-oh. More kids go up and down the slide. It's a hit. I feel some relief I didn't know I was waiting for. They love it. It was worth my morning to put up. Eventually, it starts to look like a playground is clearing up. The group of parents start collecting their kids, but it's slow. Not everyone wants to go right away. Some take a couple more trips around the monkey bars, some swing for a minute or two more. Some are just running around. The parents are patient. They planned for this delay, I bet. But when almost all the kids are collected, there's only 2 moms and a kid left. The moms are talking, and the kid is pulling their skirt. They say something. Looks like the kid is begging. I take another sip of my water. They trot away, and I see they're going for my slide. My new slide. I installed just today. They're going for it. I was just about to stand up, just about to take my leave as well, but I stay. I stay seated. I keep watching. Last ride of the day. It's an event. I grab the arm of the bench tightly, sweat accumulating in my palm, running off of my knuckles. It's been so hard to watch, so hard. But there's just one more. It's like I can feel every step he takes up the slide. I feel like I twitch each time. I'm starting to crunch my bottled water. They make it to the top, but they don't sit down. They get on their stomach, and they're going to go head first. It's like it's in slow motion. It feels like it takes forever. I glance over to the parents. They aren't watching. They're just talking. My gaze returns to the kid as he pushes off. First, it's a steep dive. A long, endless dive. I can only imagine how many little static shocks he's getting. It's such a thing with slides. Down, 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 and then, as it slowly curves more outward, like a plane about to take off, he's gonna go straight into the wood chips. My knuckles turn white. My jaws clench so hard, my flat teeth hurt. It's so hard to watch. It's so hard to watch. He's about to make it, about to take off. His head makes it past the ending of the slide. I can see that he's about to extend his arms, just about to try and break his fall, and then... It was so hard to watch. I take my eyes away. I try to make a scene in my head. He made it to the bottom. He stood up. He ran over to his parents. They laughed, and they left. I take a swig of my water and finish the thing. I stand up. I throw it in the trash next to the bench, and I start to walk away. The kids love my slide, and I think I can live with that. On normal days like these, I think that's the best kind of thing you can expect. As I'm walking away, I start to hear a calling. A mom calling. I lower my head. I only have one regret. One regret about today. It's this terrible thing, and I've really tried not to do it. I can hear her now, even as my feet take me further away from her. She's calling.
Donnie? Donnie?
Like she's trying to get him to come back so they can leave. And I wish they could. But I think Donnie's stuck. The tone of her voice changes. It's louder. It's not getting him to come back. It's trying to find him at all.
Donnie? Donnie? Donnie?
I just shake my head. I really tried not to. I really thought I wasn't going to. But I guess, on normal days, I'm just not that careful. I still made a tube slide. Oh, tube slide. Oh. Oh. Oh, it only manifests when a person slides down head first on their stomach with their arms tucked behind or tucked down at their sides. Any other orientation of the body or limbs while sliding will result in no effect, and only humans are affected. Oh. Oh no. Poor Donnie. He's been sent to the back rooms. He may never find his way out. He may never. Get a room. This next story. It is get a room. The hotel room's dim lighting gave only the barest outline of her, but that's all I needed. She was beautiful. Too beautiful for light's negligence to hide. Her straight figure, the sharper features of her face, the low lamp behind her the low lamp behind her let me know that her dress was her favorite color, green. She opened her eyes. She opened her arms and begged me closer. Come, she said so sweetly. Come here. I've missed you, I said, taking my first steps forward. Are you real? Come closer, she said. Come to me. My doubts were forgotten. Her voice was so soothing, her arms so open. There was nothing I could do but rush into them. My arms wrapped around her with a ferocity I hardly knew I was capable, and into her shoulder I openly wept. I've missed you so much. I was barely able to get out. Every moment, every day I have missed you. I've missed you too. Stay with me. I nodded without questioning. I'll stay. Good, she said as I ran my hand through her hair, holding her face close to mine, tears streaking down my cheeks. I couldn't believe it was her. I couldn't believe I was seeing her again. Never leave me, she asked. I shook my head. Why would she need to ask? It was unthinkable. Of course I'd never leave. Never would I ever leave again. And then my skin began to tingle. And then my skin began to hurt. Like a million pin-sized worms had suddenly eaten their way through the surface of my stomach, my cheek, my hands, anywhere that I touched her. But I didn't stop my embrace. I couldn't bring myself to let go. My knees went out, my arms felt weak, my jaw began to slump. I couldn't keep my form, my shape. It was like my bones had left me. I hadn't the strength anymore to move my muscles. Everything hurt, but by the time I had the mind to scream, I couldn't. My teeth began to fall out of my mouth. My eyes melted out of their sockets. The molten remains of my flesh were becoming a pool on the floor when... Caesar? I startled awake. I was at my desk. Drool pooling in the crook of my elbow, which I had fallen asleep in. I wiped saliva from my mouth and my arm on my side and tried to look like I hadn't just embarrassed myself in front of a colleague. She just shook her head. You've been doing that recently. Yeah. I tried to pull something more articulate out of my head, but I ended up just saying, sorry. Well, I was just meaning to give you this. She placed down a folder on my desk. I flipped open the front front and saw it was a survey of some kind.
The rounds are being made for the mental health survey. It's time for the SCP-031 team to take their turn.
Right. I took the folder and put it in one of my drawers.
Promise me you'll get to it. It seems like you're one of the people who need it most.
I'm fine, I responded.
You're not.
She stated. I furrowed my brow. She just smiled sadly at me.
You're not doing so hot. It doesn't take an expert to see that. I've offered that you talk to me, but you never have. Please, take the survey. It's not optional.
She took her leave, off into the mess of cubicles. As my ears dug their way up from my dreariness, I had recognized the tapping of keyboards. I reoriented myself, looking down at what I had fallen asleep on. Right. Data entry for SCP-031. The entire reason for my being here. I leaned my head against my hand and looked up at the vents. If 031 affected the air, they would have to be airtight, but it didn't. Still, I thought he could hear it breathing. I shook his head and put my face back down to my computer, but I couldn't focus on it. When I opened my desktop, all I could do was look at the clock in the lower right corner. Only some hours now, mere hours, until the gap in the guards, until a room would be left open, a room where I could be alone, with her. Hours passed without event, my responsibilities merely visiting my conscious. Before I dismissed them, when it was time, I stood up. I didn't have anything to announce, but if anyone asked, I was going to the bathroom. I walked down the hallway and entered the elevator. It was only some floors, just a moment or two. The door opened, and I walked briskly into the hallway. It was just a hotel. Patterned carpet, perfect temperature. Regular lighting fixtures, circular designs so that you wouldn't get lost. You wouldn't be able to tell something was wrong with it at first inspection. We really were at the frontier of human knowledge here. Slyly hidden as the normal key readers on all the other doors, these ones only responded to Foundation personnel. My hands shook as I reached for my key card, and sweat nearly made the thing slip from my hand when I went to slide it. The thing beeped. The tiny light turned from red to green. The door opened. I walked in. It was a suite. I could have met her in any of the rooms, but I wanted this one. It was spacious. The bed was beautiful. The lighting was dim. It was romantic. She would love it. I closed the door behind me, and I knew I had to move fast. The guards may be gone, but the cameras weren't off. It was only a matter of time until someone spotted me. I saw the air vent and pulled a chair under it. I stood on the chair and dug through a coat pocket to find a screwdriver. I used the screwdriver to take the vent cover off. Air blew over me, and I imagined I could smell her perfume in it. That was fake. I shook the thought out of my head. Stay real. I thought to myself, stay here. I didn't know if it would work. I wasn't exactly sure. But I bit down on the very tip of my pointer finger and tore a bit of skin off. With the little blood that came from the prick, I smeared a spot onto the inside of the vent. With that, I was done. I got off the chair, put it back, and waited. It was so nerve-wracking. I could barely stand, just sitting there on the bed and looking at the vent.
My hands rubbed together without my biting them. My foot tapped the ground. My eyes glanced suspiciously at the security camera. No alarms yet, but she wasn't here either. I chewed at the inside of my cheek until I hear noises. Something coming from the vent. I stood immediately. I was so preoccupied with whether she would come or not that I forgot to make myself presentable for if she did. I ran fingers through my hair to try to smooth it. I tucked my shirt into my pants. I discarded my coat so I would look dressed for the occasion in my button-down and black pants. Then it was here. The vent spilled pink and white tendrils, which terminated into pods like head-sized wiffle balls where the insides were white and wet. They sprayed a humid aroma like that of freshly caught fish mixed with the slightly sweet air of stevia. They were flailing, looking like a blind octopus trying to swipe for nearby food before seeming to find a better purpose. They soon put all of their pods together, and the things unfolded before my eyes. The exterior undid itself, and the white poured out and melded together until all of the pods shifted to form one solid shape, which then filled with color and texture until it was all her, a human, my wife. She opened her eyes and caught my gaze and smiled. A lump formed in my throat so that when I tried to make some kind of connection, the only thing that came out was a squeak, but she didn't mind. She opened her arms wide and motioned me in for an embrace. Here, she said with the same hitch to her voice that she'd had since the disease had spread to her throat. Come here. I've missed you. Fuck, I've missed you so much. She nodded. I know. What was I doing? I ran towards her, forgetting at once all the pomp and circumstance, all my plans of a quiet evening of reconnection. I tossed myself into her arms and clung to her for dear life. I thought I'd never see you again. I cried into her shoulder. I'm here, she said. You're here, I repeated, like I still had to convince myself it was true. I pulled back. I pulled back from her just enough to see into her face, and she gave me a smile, like she was sad to see me again. I puzzled. What's wrong? She shook her head. There's nothing wrong. My adrenaline didn't let me hang on that thought. The only thing I could hold on to was the idea I needed to kiss her, so I did. I pulled her into a kiss, and I tried my damnedest to pour every ounce of passion I had into it. Every morning I woke up in an empty bed was in that kiss. Every night I took a shower alone was in that kiss. Every dinner I ate, every empty hand I walked through the park with, I gave it all to her. I gave her everything. And I was kissing her. My skin began to tingle, and then my skin began to hurt. Like a million pin-sized worms had suddenly eaten their way through my hands and lips. I could feel the maggots push their way through my mouth I could feel the maggots push their way through her mouth and into mine, beginning to eat at my tongue and my gums and the roof of my mouth. But I didn't stop pressing my lips to hers. There wasn't a single impulse in my body to let go of her. My knees went out, but she held me up. My arms fell to my sides, but she kept hugging me. My jaw began to slump, but when I fell to the floor, our mouths were still connected by a long coil of pencil-thin tendrils. I realized too late I was losing shape. My skin started to detach from my muscles. My muscles detached from my bones. My bones became porous and bleed marrow. By the time I had thought to scream, I couldn't. I was gone. Caesar? I raised my head from my desk with such speed that I heard it crack. Jesus, she stated simply. Sorry, bad dream. She just gave me a look, a sad, disappointed look.
Caesar, what are you doing here? I furrowed my brow. What do you mean? Why don't you leave? Take the day off. Hell, take several days off. You have paid time saved up. Why don't you take it? I couldn't figure out how to respond. My senses were slowly coming back to me, and as they faded in, I began to take in the rest of my sights and sounds. The cubicles, the typing on keyboards, the low conversations somewhere. But it was lesser than usual. There should be more people working at this time. I shook my head lightly. No, I was just tired. My work is important. It's the only thing that I trailed off, realizing I'd cornered myself. She took a deep breath. Oh, she took a deep, loud breath. That distracts you? I hung my head and avoided eye contact. There's a lot more to life than the past, Caesar. She slapped a folder down on my desk. This is the mental health survey for people working on SCP-031. It's required. And as soon as you're done filling it out, I want to see you go home, okay? I looked up and nodded. I'll be gone sooner than that. We shared an uncomfortable stare. Don't, is all she said. Then she walked away, off into the cubicles. We shared an Oh, wait. I took a couple shaky moments to myself. What did she know? She wasn't stopping me. No one was stopping me. I stood up only to check the cubicles around me, and saw my first observation confirmed. There were surprisingly few people, maybe 10 others around that I could see, and one was on their way out the door. I checked the clock on the wall across from me, but for some reason, I knew it didn't matter. People were leaving. There weren't going to be guards, so there was no point in waiting around either. I walked past the emptying cubicles, through the hallway, and into the elevator. It was only some floors, just a moment or two. I was already moving before the doors opened, my feet stepping into the hall before the elevator could fully settle onto the floor. I briskly made my way to my right, feet passing over the patterned carpet, the only noises being my breath and my footsteps, and the low electrical hum of lights overhead. No one was here, as I expected. I pulled out my keycard and swiped it against my chosen door. A suite. Romance, low light, perfection. The door beeped and the light turned green. I pushed it open and stumbled into the room. My eyes searched. Vent, right. I put a chair underneath it, stood on the chair, and fished a screwdriver I'd snuck into work out of my pocket. It was only moments until the vent cover was removed, and as soon as its heavy metal plating clanged against the floor, I felt the air turn from its cool conditioning to a hot, organic pulse. Breath. I stepped down from the chair and was about to remove it before an outpour of tendrils made me take some steps backwards, abandoning my effort. The pods on their ends wasted no time unfolding and meshing together, weaving into the form of my dearly beloved. Once she was formed, her eyes stayed closed. Teresa? I asked, taking a nervous step forward. Her eyes fluttered open. She saw me. She smiled. Caesar. She opened her arms. Come here. I walked forward and reached a hand towards her. She let me take it. I've missed you, I said. I've missed you too. She pulled me into a hug, and I allowed her to take me. We stood in silence for some time, only breathing together. Why did you leave me? I asked. I didn't mean to, she responded. No, it's just... I fought back tears. It hurts so much. I didn't know what life is supposed to be without you. I'm so glad you're back. I pulled away and looked into her eyes. Are you glad to be back? She avoided my gaze. Teresa, I asked, and stroked her cheek. I'm happy to be with you, she said, and turned toward me, giving me a sad smile. What's wrong? But instead of responding to me, she just pulled me back into a tight embrace. Nothing's wrong, she whispered into my ear, but she didn't sound like she believed it. Nothing's wrong. I felt a horrid and sudden pain as my body split at the abdomen, my hips and legs slumping to the floor while Teresa held up my torso, the only connecting tissue being my unfolding intestines, the blood and muscles. Caesar. No. Caesar. I woke up, but no one was there. The world was dark. The only light, a faint glow from my computer screen. As soon as my eyes adjusted, I saw that it was open to a Word document. Typed onto it was one word in 12-point font Arial, all lowercase. Leave. I fumbled for my phone so that I could have a flashlight, and as I did so, my hand brushed against the folder on my desk. I held it up to the light of the computer screen and saw its words. SCP 031 Team Mental Health Survey. I threw it onto the ground with anger I didn't know I had. I threw it onto the ground with an anger I didn't know I had. My breathing labored. I grabbed the phone out of my pocket, turned the flashlight on, and stood up. I was at work, the big room, the cubicles. I was at my office desk. Right, of course. I was exhausted, and I had gone to work and I had fallen asleep. I nearly checked the clock, but I didn't feel I had to. There was only one place to go. I walked past the empty desks. I walked through the hallway and towards the elevator. When I pressed the button, nothing happened. Nothing lit up. No matter. I took the stairs. I nearly tripped several times, but I kept my balance. I felt so shaky today. I had no idea why. But it was only some floors. Only a moment or two. Then I was where I wanted to be. I walked down the hallway, flashlight in hand, and my breath sounded so loud. I made it to the suite. I wanted a keycard at the ready in my hand, but the door was already open. A light was on inside. I pushed through, and she was there. Teresa, sitting on the bed, looking as beautiful as the day we met. I was frozen in place. She didn't seem to look at me. Teresa, is that you? She said nothing. I stepped into the room. Are you all right? I haven't seen you in so long. I lost my words and merely moved forward, closing the door behind you. I can leave if you want me. Oh, I can leave if you want to be alone, I offered. No, she finally spoke. It's all right. Come here. I walked forward, step after step, removing my jacket, placing it on the chair I passed by, before sitting at her side on the bed. She didn't move to touch me or even look at me. What's wrong? I pried. She shook her head. Caesar. She sounded so meek. Nothing could be wrong with you here. She finally looked up and smiled. But it was sad. It wasn't what I wanted. She wasn't letting me in. Still, she opened her arms and I gently pulled her into a hug. I've missed you so much, I said. I know. We only held that position, sitting on the bed, embracing one another, for minutes or more. Our breaths were the only sounds. At some point, she started crying. I rubbed her back, trying to soothe her. She wouldn't tell me what was wrong, so I didn't ask. I only tried to be a comforting presence. Caesar, she choked out. Yes? Sorry, she said. Sorry for what? What could you possibly be sorry for? This. I searched for something more meaningful, but came up with nothing. This is perfect. I'm sorry for coming back, is all she said. I kissed her, and she kissed me back. When we were done, I looked into her eyes. You coming back is all I ever wanted, I said. I meant it. It's the only thing worth living for. I saw the worms, the tendrils, the maggots coming out from under her eyes and the corner of her mouth, wriggling from behind her and towards me. She sniffled. Does it hurt? I didn't move an inch as the oily wires dug into the flesh of my face, slipping into my cheeks and under my collarbone, slowly consuming my left hand on her side. I only moved to soothe, or to sm- I only moved to smooth back her hair and kiss her on the forehead. Oops. Of course not, I said, before I could no longer speak. It could never hurt to love you. That one was interesting. That one was interesting. Not really what I thought it was going to be about. I don't know that I like that one all that much. Ugh. Ugh. I had water to go down the wrong pipe. Ugh. That never feels good. Okay. 3 more. The mind as a canopic jar. I climbed a hill, the breeze pushing low grasses against my heels. The sun merely a brighter spot in the blanketed gray sky. I pulled my coat closer to my body with my right hand. My left fiddled with a Tascam recorder in my pocket, and over my shoulders I carried a backpack full of all the other wires, cables, and plugs I required to hook this device into that and the other one I once. Oh, oh, yeah. My left fiddled with a Tascam recorder in my pocket, and over my shoulders I carried a backpack full of all the other wires, cables, and plugs I required it to hook this device into that and the other one once I reached the top. That and a notebook. A final footstep took me to the crest of the hill, from which I overlooked the area of effect. The land claimed by the tower. It was a valley, flatter than any natural landscape could ever hope to be, that stretched to the horizon, covered in the light blue that distant paints objects with. Covered in the light blue that distance paints objects with, a single black tower stood in the middle of this expanse of flat nothing. I took out my binoculars. It wasn't necessary, but I wanted to look at it. Through them I saw its grinders, its stalagmite's shape, the only thing giving this plain depth. Some red lights blinked at its top, and the wind that so whipped around my cold fingers seemed to not touch it at all. Stationary, static even. not merely immobile, but immovable. I lowered my binoculars and pocketed them once more. Once more. It was the only. Oh, once more. It was only a short black line with a blink of red on the top, a safe distance away. I was safe here. So I had been told, in any case. I was new to this project, SCP 084, that is, the tower. The Foundation had been recording its broadcasts for some years, but so far it had all been gibberish and static. We knew it seemed to be more active when human ears were listening in, so it wasn't in their best interest to set something up that simply recorded its output. Every week, someone was sent up to the top of one of its broadcasting hills. Sorry. Every week, someone was sent up to the top of one of its bordering hills and told to get out a radio and a notebook and record. This week, that was me. I took out my equipment, set up the radio, and put my recorder in front of it. I found a nice rock to lean against and then placed my notebook on my lap. In position, there was nothing left to do but turn it on. Click. It was what I had expected, purely static, white noise that melted into the wind almost instantly. Like most of what had come before me, I wrote my first note. Nothing new. In the world of the Foundation, most of the research was not innovation, but instead routine. There were things that had to be monitored. There were things that had to be locked. There were things that had to be looked at. There were measurements that had to be taken, and the majority of the time, they meant nothing to no one. But they had to be done, because eventually, they might mean something to someone. Which is why I had 8 hours ahead of me, consisted mostly of sitting against this rock. Wait, which was why I had 8 hours ahead of me that consisted mostly of sitting against this rock, listening to the wind and holding my coat close to my chest to stay warm. I closed my eyes and attuned my ears to the static and the air, content to perform my own kind of meditation under the circumstances. I worked long nights, and rest was more than appreciated. Then something squirmed onto the airwaves. My ears perked up. It wasn't always that SCP-084 was reactive, but this time it was reacting fast. I sighed. No such rest for me. I grabbed my notebook, opened it, placed a paperweight from my pocket on the corner so the wind wouldn't be so bothersome, and wrote at the top, SCP-084, audio notes. Sometimes, what human ears heard and what was picked up by the recorders was different, so I was supposed to write summaries of everything I heard. With pen in hand, I waited for the distorted noise to resolve itself into something comprehensible. It didn't take too long. What can you expect down at the Clackman's Car Convention?
Personally, I'm most looking forward to the rat rods.
I love those beat-up things.
Well, thank you, Ed. I'm sure plenty of vintage automobile enthusiasts will all be over it. I'm sure plenty of vintage automobile enthusiasts will be all over it. Speaking of cars, but in darker, more local news, we report on the car crash of 2 unidentified individuals in Klamath Falls. CCTV footage showed the car crashing into a 7-Eleven on the outskirts of town. The driver quickly removed themselves from the vehicle, went to the passenger side, and hauled what looked like a limp child out of the car. Clearly alien to the area, the father was lost and afraid. Not to mention the visible wound on their thigh. With potentially little time to spare, the father began to... The sounds melted into static again. I wrote my final bullet point on the locations described and set my pen on its side once more. Interesting, I thought. The transmission had been more continuous than in the past. Usually, it was mostly garble, or at most several sentences, that didn't necessarily mean that this meant anything, but it was interesting to note. I picked my pen back up and wrote that in as an afterthought. It came back with the usual pattern. Oh, it came back with the usual pattern of mostly incomprehensible static with voice tones or hints of music with a word or phrase here or there. I penned in ones I feel I caught, such as sail, home, couple of, and a brief weather broadcast that said something like, "It's going to be cold," before cutting off. I wasn't one of the people that was supposed to be. I wasn't one of the people that was supposed to put all this together. I was just the guy they sent to record it. Still, there was plenty of time to think when the broadcast stopped short and went to static, and it was something to fill my time. To come up with theories, I mean. There were some themes that you caught on to over and over again if you listened to the static long enough. Stuff like houses and families and death and journeys. I flipped to a page near the back and kept a series of tallies I was making that marked the 168th time the word home had cropped up, and 82nd time cold had. Sail was sitting at a modest 5 mentions, and couple of as a phrase in isolation as a new one. I flipped to the next page and wrote some. I noted that the concepts of the journeying and home were strange in connection to the anomaly in general. It was common knowledge that the people inside were trapped there. There were no journeys because no one could leave. It was what made me unsure that home, however much it popped up, was referring to the area of effect. I had toyed, at the time, with the idea that whatever lies at the center of SCP-084 was trapped with the rest of it, but I simply had doubts that the tower itself wasn't the source of the anomalies. It felt like if it wanted to leave, it could. I let out a puff of air. On the other hand, it was a tower. Maybe that was a rather stupid idea. The static started to warble, and I immediately flipped to my frontmost page, ready to take more notes. It started up. For a sobering departure from our broadcast today, we'd like to give respect to the people who lost their lives in the campfire of 2018. Today marks the anniversary of the beginning of that terrible event. Many lives were cut short, including those of the brave men and women who tried to save as many as possible. A moment of silence for the uncounted deaths of those who could not be saved. May their souls be at peace. The broadcast went silent, but without any static. I cocked an eyebrow. Would there be a continuation? I jotted down some bullet points. Noise did start up again, but not one I expected. There was a loud burst of static that was gone as soon as it had come, and then a steady beep. I felt like I had recognized it, but it was mostly notable for being the first pure sound I heard SCP-084 make. It wasn't speech, it wasn't music, just a beeping. The skip was acting up today, wasn't it? I said as much in the note. Strange behavior, I wrote, simply and plainly. Once I was comfortable with the reliability of the beeping, I flipped to the back of the pages of my book once more, and clicked the pen until I could think of something to write. Home, journeys, death, families. I took a deep breath, which blended into the wind. I didn't have much new information, so I decided to wildly guess at something just based on what I had heard today. It was an exercise. Figure out what sounded like likely options if I had heard the day's broadcast in isolation, and then compare those possibilities to the others I had written, find common threads. I clicked the pen one final time and leaned over my notebook to write. Today's themes so far: crashes, disasters, saving. Failure to save? It seemed likely. Man takes child out of crash car. Firefighters mourn the loss of those they couldn't take with them. Home, journeys, family, death. Journeying family. I write. And then pause. Journeying family crosses cold expanse. Crashes, child dies. Alright, I thought, let's take that as a fact. Then what is all this? I looked out towards the tower again, the blinking red light, in time with the beeping of the radio, out in the center of the flat, like a leech latched onto the earth. The stasis of the place. The people that couldn't leave. I clicked my pen absent-mindedly. Maybe the child hadn't died, but was dying. The anomaly keeps people from dying. I put my pen to paper. I cross out dies, and I write dying. Anomaly equals preservation. The beeping stopped, but the static didn't return. I instinctively flipped to the front of my book and waited for some new sign. It came soon enough. Clapping. It sounded like it was a radio show in front of an audience. Then a zealous announcer. That's right. The $1,000 prize is yours. Congratulations on your winnings, Austin. Hey, a second voice cut in. I'm just excited to make a quick buck. Then the static returned. I was struck silent and still, shaking myself out of that state. I quickly wrote, very, very strange behavior, fearing safety, turning off. In haste, I made a single bullet point, game show win, then closed the notebook. That was too much behavior outside of SCP-084's norm, and I wasn't too sure about the consequences of continuing to listen. We knew that the broadcasts responded to the presence of listeners, but this felt too directed. It felt like it had noticed not just a human element, but me. Like it was looking over my shoulder at my notes and nodding. I wasn't having any of it. I reached over to the radio and turned it off. I reached over to the radio and turned it off. I reached over to the radio and turned it off. It was beeping at me. That same beep as before. That consistent beep, beep, beep. But all I had to do was turn it off. So I reached over to the radio and I turned it off. I stood up. I hadn't turned it off. It was still beeping. There was still that soft, fuzzy background noise to it. Like fur rubbing against a microphone. I was looping. Every time I tried to push the button, I hadn't pushed it. Only one thing mattered. I grabbed the task cam and my notebook, stuffed them in my backpack, and left the rest of it there. This was supposed to be outside of SCP-084's area of effect, but something had changed, and I needed to leave before the journey was impossible, before here became home. I started walking down the hill. The wind felt incredibly strong, like it was ready to pull me off of my feet at any moment. Once I was making good headway back towards my car, I decided it was a good time to pull out my phone. I dialed and put it up to my ear. It gave me a message that the number didn't exist, but I spoke anyways. O'Rourke encountered undocumented behavior, potentially in danger, site-bound early, requesting screening upon arrival. Finally, the dial tone yielded to another human voice. 10-4. You've reached the secure line. Anything to report? Yes, I replied, pulling my coat as tightly to my body as I could and nearly yelling over the wind. I believe SCP-084 responded to me, specifically me. It seemed aware of my presence. Did it show you something? What? I was taken off guard. To whom am I speaking? O'Rourke, we need you to stay put and record as much of SCP-084's message as possible. Sorry, sir, I responded. I can't do that. O'Rourke, we need you to stay put and record as much of SCP-084's message as possible. Sorry, sir, I responded. I can't do that. O'Rourke, we need you to stay put and record as much of SCP-084's message as possible. Sorry. I stopped myself in the middle of the statement and threw the phone on the ground. Another loop. And that beeping wasn't getting any quieter. That soft static was building. Even though I was getting further away, it felt like my thoughts were being drowned out by the fuzz and auditory snow, like laying a weighty blanket over my struggling conscience. Like laying a weighty blanket over my struggling consciousness. Oh no, I was right the first time. I just kept moving down the hill, sometimes stumbling in my rush. It wasn't a long hike back to the car. I just had to get there. I just had to get there. I careened down the hill in that state of nearly falling while my body above my waist bent over and in front of my legs so that by the time I was at the bottom, I nearly plastered myself onto my car. I fumbled the keys out of my pocket, opened the door, got inside and turned it on, and turned it on, and turned it on. Shit, I yelled out loud to myself, and that seemed to break the pattern, because I turned it on and it stayed on this time. I pulled out of the spot and got onto the road. A low hum of adrenaline was running through my body, but I was mostly keeping it together. On the road that's straight and flat, it was easy to climb in speed, and I wasn't yet fighting the urge to get away as quickly as possible, so I went from 30 to 50 to 80 in a short order. In some miles, I would reach the gate that kept the general populace out of the Foundation. In some miles, I would reach the gate that kept the general populace out and the Foundation in. I breathed. I waved my right hand erratically, testing the looping effect that I had experienced, and finding myself able to move fluidly and purposefully. My breathing slowed, not to normal, but to a more reasonable pace. I had escaped. I was going home. Home. Journey. Disaster. The car radio startled me by turning itself on. "World watches the sky tonight," is all I heard before my attention was pulled to the figure in my passenger seat. I lost focus. I veered off the road and I crashed into a ditch. There was an object, piercing through space, like a spear sailing across the heavens, and it had a moon orbiting it. It was so beautiful. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and it ended so fast. "Right eye looks good," said the doctor. "Left eye too." He took the flashlight away from my face, and I could see again. "What can I say? You look normal," he said. You took a bit of a tumble, but you didn't even suffer a concussion. You'll be sore for weeks, and I recommend you try to take walks so that your legs don't get worse." "Thanks. I'll do that." "And my meme screens?" I asked. "Came back clean," he said. "You're fine. I'm sure the cause of all of this will be investigated shortly. For now, I think you should just go home and get some rest." Home. Family. Disaster. Journey. Of course. "Be seeing you, Dr. Hornswallow." "You as well, O'Rourke." I shook my head violently all of a sudden and put a hand over my head. Are you okay? Asked Hornswallow. I looked up to him and chuckled. Sorry, that's probably going to happen for a few days. I'm still running on fumes, and the adrenaline of the whole ordeal hasn't really gone away. Hornswallow smiled. Fair play. Well, why don't you take the bus home? I don't think you're fit to drive. We both shared a professional laugh. Thanks. Goodbye for real this time, I said. He curtly waved as I exited his office and made my way down the hall. As soon as I was sure he was out of sight, I smacked the open palm of my right hand against my head several times, like I was trying to get water out of my ears. Except it wasn't water. It was that damn static, that fuzz. It hadn't let up. It was still there, in the back of my head. That blanket holding down my thoughts. But I hadn't told anyone. I couldn't tell anyone. Once I made it to the bus, I sat in the back corner and pulled out my notebook. The vehicle started up, and the rest of the passengers were too in their own worlds. Oh, the vehicle started up, and the rest of the passengers were too in their own worlds to pay me any attention. Perfect, I thought. I flipped to the last pages and readied my pen. For now, all I could think to do was listen. Preserve, 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 preserve. Interesting. Mind of canopic jar. Oh, the mind as a canopic jar. That was interesting. Very interesting. I want to look at this one. I want to look at this one. I want to see. They're decently long. Okay. I thought I would make it further, but having water go down the wrong pipe kind of messed me up. My voice is kind of going. But we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of dark stuff for sleepless nights done. We got 7 of them done. We got through 7. We'll come back next week. We'll we'll read The Grown Up and Making Weight. We'll read Joey F. Nuts, and then we'll start on the ABCs of Death. That sounds like a good plan. I like that plan. I like that plan a lot. Yeah. I think it's good. Good plan. Good plan. And it was the best ally. She always asked me when I was going to bring home a wife. So I came out by and said, I'm bringing home a rich husband. Or even if she's an eagle eye with a flip flop. That's cool. Based grandma. Based grandma. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. We love those who are based. Those who are based rock. They rock. Okay. My voice is a little shot right now. Or my throat is, I should say. But that was fun. I'm glad we got through what we got through. I'll be working on getting the first of the readings cut up and start uploading those two a day until the end of the year. So there'll be stories to listen to on YouTube whenever you feel like. Whenever anyone feels like it. I had fun today. I want to thank you all for choosing to spend your time with me today. Listen to the stories. I appreciate it a lot. appreciate it a lot. My mind is going. My mind is going. I'm melting. I'm melting. But I'll be back soon. Thank you. Thank you. I had a lot of fun with it too. I was hoping to go a little longer, but my throat and brain. My brain is literally melting. For a little bit, I didn't. We need them uploaded to YouTube ASAP. Yes. I'll either. I'll start working on the first two tonight. Maybe I'll get up early tomorrow to get them done too. Yeah, but for a little bit there, I was kind of. I think I sort of dissociated for a sec. I was reading, and I was listening to me read, but I couldn't comprehend what I was reading. I was just kind of staring. I'm a little bit back together now. But yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah for the based grandma. But yes, I'll be getting those uploaded. I'll be working on getting emotes done this week as well. Now that I have some solid ideas, I know what to do for them. So we'll have emotes hopefully by the new year. Maybe even before. At least next time I stream. I'll have a schedule uploaded hopefully tomorrow. The readings will start getting uploaded tomorrow as well. Lots of work this week. Lots of work. Thank you all for having fun with me, spending time with me today. Appreciate it. I'll be back. I'll be back when I'm back. I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Oh yeah. I almost forgot what I always say. Hope you all have a great morning, great afternoon, great night, great day, whatever it may be. You all better have fun, okay? It's not a threat, because I think threats are against TOS. So I aggressively state to you all, you better have fun. I'll be back later this week. Hope you all have a happy holidays if you celebrate. I'll be back slightly after Christmas. And lots of uploads this week. Lots of uploads this week and all throughout New Year's. Lots of new stuff. Lots of new stuff. Big things. Big things coming with the new year. But yeah, you all better have fun. Thank you all for coming in. Bye bye.